Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm House Democrat Leader Christine Gregg. I represent House District 37, which are the communities of Farmington and Farmington Hills. And we really appreciate you joining us here today to talk about something that's quite urgent and that affects everyone here in the state of Michigan. And that's to ensure real job stability and security for our state's hardworking men and women. And this month, through the entire month, the House Democrats have celebrated Labor Month. And it couldn't just be more timely as well, with our solidarity with our UAW brothers and sisters fighting for a better life, for better benefits, better wages, better job security. This is very timely. So what we did is we started out with our rollout of our package with the Senate to crack down on payroll fraud, and we penalized companies that cheat workers in order to avoid paying full wages, overtime, and taxes. And then we went on to our package to reform the Unemployment Insurance Agency, where we were strengthening unemployment protections and expanding benefits while also making whole the thousands who were falsely accused of fraud. And we've spent this month not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. So when it comes to our commitment to making lives better for working families in our state, you see us out there on the front lines talking to workers every single day, letting them know that we have their backs from a policy standpoint. Because, the goal isn't and shouldn't be just to have a job. It's to have a good job. And one job should be enough. With a strong paycheck and the benefits you need to live and to work and to raise your family without worry. It's about how you'll pay your bills or put food on the table or save for the future. And September always starts, of course, with Labor Day, our annual reminder, not just how far working people in this nation have come, but also of all the work we need to continue to do to preserve it and expand workers' rights. Well, this month we definitely recognize the men and women who head to work every day, day in and day out, moving our economy and our state forward. My colleagues and I up here remain dedicated to fighting on their behalf all throughout the year. We're working on real tangible solutions to the issues Michigan workers and their families face. Solutions that don't just check a box and say that's what we do because we're Democrats, but this is good, sound policy that will go a long way in providing our families with the support and relief they need to build the lives they deserve. Because Michiganders do deserve better. They deserve to have good paying jobs and to have stability in their future. More about the package we're introducing today, I'd like to turn it over to Rep. Kara Hope.
Thank you, Leader Gregg, and thank you to everyone here this afternoon. As Leader Gregg said, I'm Kara Hope. I represent the 67th House District, which is D-Holt, Mason, and then many communities in southern Ingham County. The people in my district know what it means to work hard, and they also know, unfortunately, just how bad the situation has become for working families across the state. The truth is that times have changed, and for many Michiganders, simply having a job no longer guarantees that they'll be able to make ends meet. They get stuck on the hamster wheel, working hard but never getting ahead. Stagnant wages combined with a rising cost of living have meant that even when you do work hard, you're expected to do more with less. And 40% of folks in Michigan are asset limited, income constrained, but employed. So job insecurity, whether it's not being able to count on how many hours you'll get every week or having to pick up a side hustle, it's meant that many are working twice as hard for less pay. And that's why we're here today introducing a series of reforms that provide the guarantees everybody deserves about the when and how they're going to work. It's about stability and opportunity. Our package will increase the threshold for overtime pay to ensure that everyone is paid the dollars that they've earned. It will mandate meal breaks during shifts because no one should be able to work without food. We have a temporary workers' bill of rights, which is timely considering that one of the main sticking points with our union brothers and sisters down the street here is that temporary workers are not offered permanent positions when they become available. We also have a bill And these will ensure that every working person in the state will know when and how they'll be compensated for their work, even where they're working and what they'll be doing from day to day. Everyone, no matter their background or their job, deserves these same protections. And that's why I'm hopeful that we can work together to see this legislation passed and sent to the governor's city. We're talking about the American dream, the ability to do better than the generation before, and that's something we should all support. To talk a little bit more about our package, I'd like to bring up State Representative Angela Whitwer.
Thank you, Representative Hope. I'm Angela Whitwer. I'm the state representative for District 71. As with Representative Hope, the people of my district are no stranger to the hardships that come from trying to do more with less. But if someone is unable to support themselves while working a full-time or even multiple jobs, that's a problem with our system, not with the worker. So rather than continue to blame the hardworking men and women of our state and tell them they need to work harder and work more hours, we need to remove the barriers that keep them from building the lives that work for them. That's why our package not only secures the job rights every working person in this state should be afforded, the dollars they earn are able to go farther. That's why my legislation would restore the Earned Income Tax Credit, or the EITC, to its pre-2011 level. Despite Michigan labor helping give birth to the rise of the American middle class, the median income in our state has declined substantially in the last 20 years. Compounding that hardship, legislative leadership in 2011 shifted the state's taxes onto the backs of the working families by slashing things like the EITC in favor of unnecessary pet projects and tax cuts to the wealthy. The EITC serves as a work incentive that has the ability to lift thousands of Michigan families out of poverty. But in 2011, Michigan's EITC rate was cut from 20% of the federal EITC to where it stands now at a measly 6%. The average family in my district qualifying for EITC would get an average increase of $455 if this was restored, and the restoration would also return $3 million to local economies in my district in Eaton County. That's why I've introduced legislation to restore the EITC to 20% of the federal rate, because our working families shouldn't be expected to pay for tax cuts to the wealthy, especially when so many of our state's hardworking men and women are struggling to get by. My legislation ensures that they are able to keep more of their money and put it toward the things that matter most to them, allowing them once again, many for the first time in years, to really get ahead. House Democrats know that no one who is working should struggle to pay their bills. Restoring the EITC would ensure that they can. Now I'd like to turn this over to another great State Representative Sarah Anthony.
Thank you, Representative, and good afternoon. So as my colleague said, thank you all for being here. I appreciate you all taking the time to listen about this package. And as Representative Hope mentioned, this time in our community, in our state, is just really important. So thank you for being here. So again, my name is Sarah Anthony. I serve as the state representative for the 68th House District, which includes the city of Lansing and Lansing Township. And Lansing is my home. It always has been. And my home, like many other communities represented on this stage and across the state, have been hit hard by these issues. Hardworking people in my community have worked their whole lives just to stay afloat, yet still cannot catch a break. People who are asking for nothing more than a bit of financial security and for the underlying principle of the American dream to apply for them. If you work hard, you should be able to get ahead. Wages have been stagnant for over a decade, yet every year the cost of living climbs. That's why I introduced House Bill 4183 to provide relief for working families with children. A recent CNN article pointed out that with young children, that with people with young children in today's economy, what they already know, that childcare expenses often cost more than a mortgage payment. Not to mention that as modern medicine extends our life expectancy, and that baby boomers population continues to hit retirement age, more and more of today's workers are not only raising their children, but also taking care of parents and elderly relatives as well. My bill acknowledges the financial burden that this can place on families and would allow a taxpayer to claim a child and dependent care credit based on their income level to offset some of these costs. If you cannot afford childcare, you cannot afford to work. But the same token, you should not be working just to afford childcare expenses. Too many families are put in an impossible position, and it's left them struggling just to get by. Our package, like so many of the legislation House Democrats have introduced this year, are for our fight to protect and reinstate the minimum wage you voted for bills to eliminate the 2011 retirement tax. And there's a couple of truths here. We know that you have a right to know exactly how many hours you're going to work and when you're going to be paid for them. You also have the right to take home every dollar that you have earned. And you deserve more than to spend your whole life just trying to get above water. When we decided to do this particular bill, I had my mom in mind, who is a UAW retiree, and when she was working as a young mom, was a single mom with 4 kids. And I can only imagine the type of legislation like this and what the impact that would have on her life, her ability to continue to be part of the middle class. And so I hope that the moms that are around this state gravitate towards this legislation, because we know that when we have a growing middle class, our entire economy just does better. So to bring things home, I would like to introduce State Representative Brian Elder, who among other things is the chair of the Michigan Legislative Labor Caucus. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Representative Anthony. Thank you to Leader Gregg, as well as Representatives Hope and for being here to speak today. I'm State Representative Brian Elder, and I represent the City of Bay City and the people of the 96th House District. I'm also the chair of the Michigan Legislative Labor Caucus, and when our caucus was launched in December of 2018, it was with the mission of working on and highlighting bills like we have discussed today. That's why in July of this year, the Labor Caucus was able to release a labor agenda covering nearly 60 bills, and it's why we have worked closely with Governor Whitmer to push this agenda legislatively when possible and administratively when not. But I've joined my colleagues here today not just to introduce a specific set of bills, but to talk about values. As Representative Whitwer noted, Michigan has the proud distinction of having once been the standard bearer for working class jobs. Our jobs once defined middle class stability, providing a rubric for other states to follow. Because of Michigan's working people, others around the nation found strong wages that kept up with the cost of living, good benefits that ensured folks could take care of their families while planning for the future. Yet recently that heritage seems to have been forgotten. With the wants of wealthy corporate CEOs being prioritized over the needs of workers whose labor made them wealthy in the first place. That is not a Michigan value. When well-connected millionaires are able to pull the right strings so that they can avoid paying their fair share and take home 6-figure bonus checks every year, while everyday Michiganders work multiple jobs and still struggle to afford a place to live or food to eat, that is not a Michigan value. Our Michigan values recognize that a good job should give you the financial security to build a life, to save for your children's education, and to plan for your future. And whether you're on or off the clock, or whether or not you belong to a union, the people elected to serve you should have your back. The work of the Labor Caucus, as well as the work that all of my Democratic colleagues have pushed this year, is rooted in the understanding that we need to return to these values. This package today and the legislation we're fighting for all Labor Month is how we get there, but the work is not done. It will continue this entire legislative session, and we will strive to make the lives of working people better. Thank you very much, and we'll now take your questions.